Have you seen these numbers? What about this one? All numbers written in this form. What about this one? What numbers are these? What are they called? Well, they are called decimal numbers. Hello and welcome to Magnetic Learning. In this session, we are going to learn about decimals. What is a decimal? Well, a decimal is a way of writing numbers that includes both a whole number part and a fractional part separated by a decimal point. For example, 2.05. Here 2 is a whole number part and 0.5 is a fractional part which is separated from the whole number by a decimal point. Or we can say that decimals are numbers less than 1 written with a decimal point that separates a whole number from a decimal fraction. Decimal fraction? What are decimal fractions then? Decimal fractions. So what are decimal fractions? A fraction in which denominators are 10, 100, 1000, etc. are called decimal fractions. So what do you see in the example? Here, what is the denominator? 10. And what is the fraction? 1 upon 10. Then you have 2 by 100, 5 by 1000. So these are decimal fractions. So where the denominators will be 10, 100, 1000, 10,000 and so on. So those fractions are called decimal fractions. Well, now let's see one example to understand this better. Here a number is given 4.05 or we can say 4.05. And what is decimal? A decimal is a way of writing numbers that includes both a whole number part and a fractional number part and is separated by a decimal point. So what do we have? We have a whole number part where 4 is a whole number part. This point is the decimal point. And here 0.5 is your decimal part, which is your fractional part. We can say fractional part or decimal part. And what is this point for? This point is separating your whole number from your decimal part. This point is separating the whole number part from your fractional part. Let's see the place value chart. What do you see? Are you familiar with this place value chart? Yes, you are. This is the normal place value chart that you use for your number system, right? The Indian place value chart. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, lakh, 10 lakh. Now, what about a decimal place value chart? Well, when a digit moves one step right, the place value of the digit becomes 1/10 of the digit. So here, because we are talking about the decimal place value chart, so here your numbers place value chart will extend towards the right. And as it will extend towards the right, so your place value chart will represent the place values like this in the fractional number form. 1 by 10th, 1 by 100th, 1 by 1000th, 10th, 100ths, 1000th. And it will proceed further also 10,000th and so on. So here before the decimal point, is your whole number part. It is increasing by 10. Okay, and as we are going to the right, it is decreasing by 10. So your value is getting 1 by 10, 1 by 100, 1 by 1000. So here this side is your whole number part, and after decimal is your fractional number part. Decimal separates your whole number from your fractional number part. Let's see a few examples to understand it better. Here we have decimal fraction with 10 as denominator. What do you see? A figure is given, and this figure is divided into how many parts? 10 parts. And how many parts out of 10 is shaded? Only 1. So what will be the fractional representation of this? Well, the fractional representation of this will be 1 by 10. And how do we write it? 1/10. 1/10. And now, since we are talking about decimal, so how we are going to represent this number as decimal? To represent this as decimal, we are going to observe the denominator. Here the denominator is 10, and 10 has how many zeros? 1 0. So your decimal will be placed after one number. So here we have placed the decimal after one number. And how are we going to read? We are going to read it as 0.1 from the left to right. 0.1. Now let's see decimal fraction with 100 as denominator, which is called as hundredths. This figure is divided into 100 equal parts, and out of 100 equal parts, five parts are shaded. So what do you think? What would be the decimal representation for this? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So 5 parts are shaded. Now what will be the decimal representation for this? First we will see fractional representation. Fractional representation will be 5 by 100, where 500th. We are going to read it as 500th. And how are we going to represent this as decimal? Well, by now you must have understood that here we are going to see the denominators. Here denominator is 100, and 100 has 2 zeros. That means our decimal place will have 2 numbers. But here only one number is there, 5. So how are we going to represent? We're going to write 5 0. Or we will read it from forward 0 5. That is 0.5. How are we reading it? 0.05. 0.05. Now let's check out decimal fraction with 1000 as denominator, which is read as thousandth. Now what do you see? This block is now divided into 1000 parts, and in this 1000 parts only 50 parts out of 1000 are shaded. Let's shade 50 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4 and a 5. So here we are shading 50 blocks. So it will take a little time. Be patient. Well, decimal is really fun, and it is connected to fraction. And if you know fractions well, decimal will be very easy for you. So all chapters are connected to each other. So here 50 blocks are shaded. Now what do you see? 50. So what will be the fractional representation for this? Well, fractional representation for this will be 50 by 1000. And how are we going to represent this in decimal form? Well, in decimal form, we are going to write as 0.05. You must be wondering that why not? Here three numbers are there, no? 1, 2, 3, and after decimal point I said 3. 0 means 3 places. We can put 0 here. But that will not make much difference. It will be read as 50 only. So we have written 0.05. And it will be read as 0.05. Let's do one exercise now. Show the decimals in place value chart. Here few questions are given, or we can say few decimals are given, which you have to place in the place value chart. By now you must be familiar with the place value chart, right? This place value chart has got a few new members, and these new members are not new members anymore. Why? Because by now we are familiar with decimal, tenths, hundred and thousand. So this decimal place value is a familiar place value chart for us now. So we have to represent the first decimal number, which is read as 45 together decimal 85. We will not read it as 85. We will read it. We'll read them separately. 8, 5. 45.85. So your first number we are taking A, and A has got 45. 4 is in tenths place, 5 is in ones place. So we are going to write 4 in tenths place, 5 in ones place. Then we are going to put a decimal point in the decimal place, and then 8 in tenth place and 5 in hundredth place. So here we read it as 4, 5, 45 together because whole number, decimal 8, 5. Now next number is 125 decimal 205. Very simple. Just put the decimal point and write the whole number part on the whole number part side. That is 1, 2, 5, and then write down the that is 2, 0 and 5. Next number is C. How about you doing this? Shall I leave this for you? Of course you can. Try this out. Try out. I'm sure you can do it. Now, having learned what decimals are, now let's learn about the real life application of decimals. Where do we use decimal? We have seen decimal, in our real life. So let us see where do we use in real life? Well, weight and cooking, like 1.5 kg, right? Yes, 1.5 kg, 2.5 kg of apple, or when you buy groceries or when you buy vegetables, you use decimal point over there to separate kg from gram. Then for weight, like you say 50 kg and 700 grams is my weight. Then comes temperature, right? Like your 99.8 degree Fahrenheit, or you can say 29.7 degrees Celsius. So this point that you are seeing, all these points is separating the whole number from your fractional part, or we can say this is decimal representation. Where else do you see? Fuel measurement like petrol, diesel, the prices are represented in decimal form. Then comes your money and shopping, where your rupees is separated from paise by using point, right? Where else do you see then? Then you find in length and distance, like the measurement of the tabletop if you are taking like 20.5 centimeters, where meter and centimeter are separated from the decimal, are separated from decimal point. Then comes your time and sports, where you say like 100-meter race is conducted and where time taken by the sports person is about 8.52 seconds. Then in science and medicine, like in the composition of medicine, where you can say 2.5 grams is being used, and so on. So my dear students, if you have found the session to be interesting and connected to your real life application, then please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. And for more videos like this, you can refer to the description box. There more video links are provided. And until then, keep learning, keep growing.